This is Crime, Mr. Wade, bringing you the stories. Stay tuned for a lot more. Today's unfortunate story is about a Donald Henry Gaskins Jr., a.k.a. Pee-wee. He was born March 13th, 1933, and he was an American serial killer and rapist from South Carolina who stabbed, shot, drowned, and poisoned more than a dozen people. Before his convictions were murder, Gaskins had a long history of criminal activities resulting in prison sentencing for assault, burglary, and statutory rape. His last arrest was for contributing to the delinquency of a minor, a 13-year-old Kim Hawkins, who had gone missing in September year of 1975. During their search for a missing girl, police discovered 8 bodies buried in shallow graves near Gaskins' home in Prospect, South Carolina. Donald Henry Gaskins was born in Florence County, South Carolina. He was last in a string of Patriots' legitimate children. Gaskins was small for his age and immediately gained the nickname Pee-wee. As an adult, he was between 5'4" and weighed approximately 130 pounds. Gaskins' early life was characterized by a great deal of neglect from his mother and a male relative. His mother apparently took so little interest in him that the first time he learned his given name, Donald, was when he was read out his first court appearance. Gaskins was often described as a great manipulator and con artist who was so-called street smart and had a keen sense of humor and a friendly, entertaining personality. When he was 1 year old, Gaskins reportedly drank a bottle of kerosene, which caused him to have convulsions until the age of 3. In adolescence, Gaskins engaged in a violent crime spree with a group of fellow delinquents, which included burglaries, assaults, and gang rape. At the age of 13, Gaskins was convicted of assaulting a young woman by hitting her in the head with an axe when she caught him breaking into their family home. He was sentenced to 5 years in a reform school, the South Carolina Industrial School for White Boys in Florence, where he was regularly raped by his fellow inmates. After escaping from reform school, getting married, and voluntarily returning to complete his sentence, Gaskins was released in the year of 1951 at the age of 18. He briefly worked on a tobacco plantation until he was arrested again in the year of 1953 for attacking a teenage girl with a hammer over an alleged assault. He was sentenced to 6 imprisonment years of the South Carolina Penitentiary. There, Gaskins earned his fellow inmates' respect by killing the most feared man in the prison, Azel Brazel, in what Gaskins claimed was self-defense. As a result, Gaskins received an extra 3 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter, but from that point on, him becoming the aggressor instead of the victim. He escaped from prison in the year of 1955 by hiding in the back of a garbage truck, and he fled to Florida, where he took employment with a traveling carnival. He was rearrested, reprimanded to custody, and paroled in August of the year of 1961. Following his release from prison, Gaskins reverted to committing burglaries and fencing stolen property once again. 2 years later, after his parole, he was arrested for the rape of a 12-year-old girl, but absconded while awaiting sentence. Gaskins was rearrested in Georgia and sentenced to 8 years of imprisonment. He was paroled again in November in the year of 1968. Upon his release, Gaskins moved to the town of Sumner, South Carolina, and began work with a roofing company. Mr. Gaskins said his first non-prison-related murder victim was a blonde female hitchhiker, whom he tortured and murdered in September of the year of 1969 before sinking her body in a swamp. In his memoirs, he said that all I could think about is how I could do anything I wanted to her. This hitchhiker was to be the first of many he said he picked up and killed while driving around the coastal highways of American South. Gaskins classified these victims as coastal kills, people, both men and women, whom he killed purely for pleasure, on average once every 6 weeks, when he went hunting to quell his feelings of bothersome loneliness. He said that he tortured and mutilated his victims while attempting to keep them alive for as long as possible. He confessed to killing these victims using a variety of methods, including stabbing, suffocation, mutilation, and even said he even cannibalized some of them. Mr. Gaskins later confessed to killing 80 to 90 such victims, although his statements have committed any coastal kills have been corroborated. In his memoirs, Gaskins and he committed coastal kills every 6 weeks, yet he contradicts his statement later in the book by stating he felt the overpowering need to seek out and commit a coastal kill by the 10th day of each calendar day month. He also specifically named 3 further individuals whom he classified among the serious murderers. An African-American couple named Eddie and Burley Brown, aged 24 and 20, respectively, that he murdered in the year of 1972 and buried behind the tenant house, a location Gaskins failed to precisely pinpoint in his autobiography Beyond, once stating was a shortcut to go around Colombia. And a man named Horace Jones, the age of 40, whom he said he was murdered in the year of 1974. There is no evidence to support any of these statements made by Mr. Gaskins that he had committed any murders other than that of Hazel Brazel and the 14 victims that he seemed to admit, whose bodies have been found and identified, whose law enforcement records and Gaskins' sworn testimony substantiate. In the year of 1970, November, Gaskins committed the first of series of confirmed murders, primarily people whom he knew and killed for personal reasons. His first confirmed victims were his own niece, Janice Kirby, the age of 15, and her friend, Patricia Ann Alspook, the age of 17, both of whom he helped beat to death. He said he was enraged at their drug abuse, while others say he was attempting to sexually assault them in Sumner. In the year of 1971 and 72, Gaskins claims to have poisoned Martha Ann Dix Jr., also known as Clyde, at the age of 20, in March the year of 1971 and 72, either because of a rumor Pee-wee was the father of her unborn child. She generally dated only women but was known to mess around with men from time to time, or out of revenge because she was an alleged drug dealer who supplied Kirby and Hasbrook, and because she got married and left for Texas to be with her wife. Her bones were found in a ditch, but lost when given to a university for study. In the year of 1973, Gaskins was over racist and he raped and drowned both Doreen Hope Dempsey, age of 22, and her 2-year-old daughter, Robin Michelle Dempsey, in June of 1973. Gaskins had befriended Doreen Dempsey several years prior and was angry upon hearing she had become pregnant a second time with an African-American man. She had been living with Gaskins' friend Johnny Seller and his brother Carl Seller in North Charleston, South Carolina. They brought her to Gaskins' home in Prospect and left her there to speak with Gaskins about staying with him for a short time while she was pregnant. Upset that Doreen has having a second biracial child, Gaskins responded by walking her to her backyard pond, where he drowned her, both the mother and her toddler. In the year of 1974, June, Gaskins shot his friend and criminal associate Johnny Sellers at the age of 36 in the back of the head and stabbed to death. In the year of 1975, Silas Barnell Yates, age 45, was murdered at February in the year of 1975 by having his throat slit in a murder-for-hire scheme. The forensics showed it was a knife, but Gaskins disputed that, saying it was done by a karate chop. Yates was in a dispute with his ex-girlfriend, Suzanne Kipper Owens, and she and her husband, John Owens, paid Gaskins $1,500 to murder Yates. Diana Bellamy Neely, age 25, was separated from her husband Walter Neely, who was one of Gaskins' closest friends and a criminal conspirator. On April 10th, the year of 1975, Gaskins stabbed to death Diana Bellamy and shot her dead, her boyfriend in the head, Avery Leroy Howard, age 34. Among other reasons, Gaskins murdered Diane Bellamy because she had threatened to report to the police that Gaskins was allowing underage teenagers to have sex in his home. Avery Howard was murdered because he asked for money to pay attorneys and cover legal expenses following his arrest for fraud and auto theft. Gaskins, worried about having Avery Howard, would tell the police about Gaskins' criminal activities. Kim Gelkins, age 13, was stabbed to death to keep from telling police Gaskins had moved her from North Charleston without permission, and to keep her from telling the police she was being sexually abused by several adult men, including Mr. Gaskins. Dennis Bellamy, age 27, John Henry Knight, age 15, were half-brothers. In the year of 1982, Rudolph Heiner, age 23, was a death row inmate in CC1 prison from March 1978 for double murder. When he was murdered by Gaskins on September 12th, Tyler was appealing his own death sentence after being convicted of robbing a convenience store and killing store owners Bill and Myrtle Moon on March 18th, year of 1978. Mr. Gaskins was arrested on November 14th, 1975, when a criminal associate named Walter Neely confessed to police that he had knowledge of Gaskins killing Denise Bellamy, age 28, and Johnny Knight, age 15. Neely confessed to police that Gaskins had confided in him that he killed several people listed as missing during the previous 5 years and had indicated to him where they were buried. On December 4th, in the year of 1975, Neely led police to land near Gaskins' home in Prospect, where police discovered the bodies of 8 of his victims. Gaskins was tried on one charge of murder on May 24th in the year of 1976, found guilty on May 28th, and sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life in prison when the South Carolina General Assembly's 1974 ruling on capital punishment was changed to confirm the U.S. Supreme Court guidelines for death penalty in other states. While on death row, Gaskins said he committed 110 murders, including that of Margaret Peg Cutnino, the 13-year-old daughter of then South Carolina State Senator James Cutdo Jr. of Sumner. These murders have been widely disputed, and there has been no evidence to support Gaskins' testament. Gaskins was executed on September 6 in the year of 1991 at 1:10 a.m. in the electric chair, hours after he tried to kill himself by slitting his wrist. His last words were, "I'll let my lawyers talk for me. I'm ready to go." I hope you enjoy this unfortunate story. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. And once again, we bring it to you.